I know what you're thinking. Didn't Jeff already review the socket fan light? This looks so familiar, and you know what? You are correct. But there's something different about this one. Can you tell the difference? It now comes in black. How cool is that? Welcome back to another Jeff Reviews for you. And as you saw, we are looking at the new upgraded socket fan light, which really is just the color and maybe one other feature. Anyway, enough talk. Let's get right into this review. For those of you that were worried, yes, we are going to bring in the original into this video, but first I want to show you all the ins and outs about the newest version. Well, really, it's just the color, but I did notice they came with 2 of these extenders. Now, my thought is, well, you can have one to spare, or if you have something like a recessed can light that was really deep, you can actually hook both of these together. To set this up, you just align the fan blades in place, push until you hear a click. That's a little tiny click. Now let's do the next one. I'm going to take the time to give you some of the measurements. So right now, these 2 extension pieces, they're right around 4 inches tall. That does include the spot where you actually screw into the fixture, so it's going to be a little shorter. This light right here in the middle is right around 4 inches wide. And of course, if you look at one of the fan blades, it's right around 5 3/4 of an inch, giving you a total distance of right around 15.7 inches from one side to the other. The light actually comes in a couple different brightness settings. This one right here is the 5,000 Kelvin, which is that really bright light. And there's also a 3,000 Kelvin, which is that dimmer light. It also should be known that it only spins one direction, and that's clockwise, the same way you would screw it into the light fixture. It does not spin the other way, and my thought is they didn't include that probably because they didn't want it to unscrew and fall on someone. The remote control is pretty basic. You of course have on or an off, and you can also control the fan speed and the light brightness. There is low, medium, and high on the fan, and the same thing for the light. The cool thing is if you're not using the remote control and you're just using the light switch, the actual socket fan light will have sort of like a memory built in where it will remember the last setting that you had, and when you turn it back on, it'll kick right back on in that same setting. That's really convenient. Before you can start using this remote, you have to take out the plastic that stops the battery from connecting with the terminal. So I grabbed the original remote as I'm getting my original socket fan light ready, and I do notice they have made an upgrade. They have an off button and an on button, whereas the original one, you just turn it on and off by the 2 other buttons for the light or the fan. But look, there is now an on button on the new remote. Install our socket fan light. You can see that we are installing it into a recessed can light with the extension piece. We're going to fit it right into the socket. So what I want to do is I want to spin from this part at the top. You don't want to spin from here or below. Let's make sure we're lined up. There we go. Now slowly start spinning in a clockwise direction. I wanted to show you some of the features up close and personal. So first what we're gonna do is let's do the 3 light settings. First one's gonna start out on low. Then we hit it again, it goes to medium and then high. Remember how we said earlier that this was that 5,000 Kelvin? It's that really bright light. Now I wanna show you the fan spinning. I'm gonna leave the light off. Now I have this in a recessed can light, so this may be a different application than you have, but I notice a fair amount of shaking in the can when it's on a higher speed. Let me show you. First is low. Remember, it only spins in the one direction, right? Although it looks like it might be spinning to the left, but it's actually spinning to the right. You can see just a little bit of shaking. Let's hit the button again to go to medium. It's still spinning. It looks pretty decent, but you can see the rocking back and forth. Now let's go to high. When it's on high, you actually get more of that shaking because I believe the wind is hitting the ceiling, which is coming back down and pushing it back and forth. If I left it here, I would not run it on high because I'd worry about this thing shaking in that housing. These fans were installed in rooms that have a 10-foot ceiling, and so really if you think about the fan, the only place you feel it is directly below it in the chair. It does not have good distance around the room, but if you're directly below the fan, it is nice and cool. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I turn the light on the different settings. Right now there's a hall light in the upstairs area that's on. That light is always on, so I can't turn it off, but let's show you with just the socket fan light on. First level. Notice how you can see the area. It actually does lighten it up pretty well. Let's turn it up again. And then of course a third time. I should say that you are only seeing light in this area, although the whole room is illuminated. It's only really bright in this area, but I am impressed with how much it does light up from this one little light. In my opinion, the can light is not the best installation, so I wanted to show you it installed into a light fixture that is secured to a housing. The cool thing about this is the fan is on high, and although there's just a little bit of wiggle, not really noticeable, it is holding strong, and I do appreciate that. Even with the installation of the extension piece, you actually don't even see a wiggle at all. It is doing a great job. Another place I like to have these installed is in like a cloffice area. For us, this was a closet we turned into an office, therefore the name cloffice. It's about 5 by 6, so it's not a very big space. There is this can light where we like to have the fan up in the ceiling. However, I will say this is one installation where you need to use both of the extension pieces because having it this close to the ceiling does not allow for airflow. Now this entire room gets air circulated and it makes it feel a whole lot better. So tell me, where do you think the best application for this socket fan light would be? Let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. I have our socket fan plugged into a regular lamp. This is not how the manufacturer is intended to be. I just wanted to show you the wind speed. I do have an anemometer, so let's test it out on low first. On low, we see our wind speed ranging anywhere from 3.9 to 4.6 miles per hour. That is pretty impressive. Let's turn this up to medium. Of course, on medium, we see a huge jump all the way up to 8.13 miles per hour. Wow, that's awesome. You can see it wavers just a little bit, but it's a lot of wind. Let's turn it up to high. As you can see, we've actually topped over 10 miles an hour on the wind speed on high. It does provide a lot of wind. This is definitely something that's going to cool you down. This also has a built-in safety feature. Now, I do have this on high. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my hand inside the fan blade. You should not do this. Let's see what happens. All right, so right now I stopped the fan, but guess what? Even if I hit the button to start the fan again, it will not start the fan again because the safety feature has kicked in. The intent of the safety feature is 1, not to hurt anyone, and 2, not to damage the unit itself. The only way for the fan to work again is you have to turn power off to the source and then turn the power back on, and then the unit resets itself. In this video, we were looking at the socket fan light. So what do we think of it? First things first, let's talk about that price point. $50 in my opinion is still too high for something like this, but I do like the convenience. If we talk about install, there are a lot of applications this would not be beneficial for. Like, I don't really like it in the can light because of the wobble, and that could potentially loosen the housing. But if you have a solid, stable receptacle, this thing could just work. I do like that the lights have 3 different settings and the fan has 3 different settings. I'm just really frustrated that the 2 remotes are different from the first one to the second one, only because if you want to have these both in the same room, the remote controls actually interfere with each other. What happens when you push off on one actually turns the light on the other, so it's really frustrating. So that part, I wish the remotes were exactly the same. Therefore, I can just click it on and off and whatever. In the end, for me, I love the basement or attic installation. For me, it's gonna be in the basement, and when I need it, the fan is there or the light, and it's pretty bright, and that's how I'm going to use it. Anyway, if this is something that interests you, I will leave a link down in the description. This is Jeff with Jeff Reviews for You. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day. Because I knew somebody would ask, yes, you can put socket fan lights inside of a regular fan light in the light fixture, except there is some preparation. First things first, you notice that I used a double extension on the black fan and a single extension on the white fan. That's just so the fan blades didn't make connection. If they were both just in there with one, they would hit and actually not even work. I also noticed that the fan blades sort of like lean in towards each other. That's probably because the light is not used to carrying that kind of weight. So over time, this just will not work. I just want to show you that although it's possible, it's not practical. I really do appreciate that you stayed around for my entire review of the socket fan light. And did you know this actually comes in gold and black and white? Anyway, not that long ago, I actually reviewed another fan light, and that's by Breeze Bright. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna link that review right up here, and I would love it if you would click on this link. And when you do, by the magic of the internet, I'm gonna join you right here. So go ahead, click it. It's safe, I promise.